Guys, let's get started. So we should be recording. Let's go to Brightspace and get situated. Okay. Table of contents. So let's do kind of a review. So I will be assigning a homework today. Basically, we're going to go over some commands, more Linux commands, as you might imagine. Demo that, and then I will do maybe a couple of Python scripting examples, and then we'll create the homework assignment. All right, so I'm trying to remember where I left off on the script. So let's go to the virtual machine. Let's start that up and see where we were. Currently, we're on week 3. So remember, you'll have an exam on week 6. Exam 1. It's starting. Okay. All right, so I'm pretty sure. Let's start with the lecture this week, right? So we've covered the Unix way, basically. We went over the history, obviously, to kind of give you an idea of, where Unix comes from, how it's tied to system administration really, really well. Okay, so, and then after that, we started looking at the Unix way, and that basically means, everything is a file, the file system, and access control. Those are like the 3 key components that are essential, actually. So the more you understand that, the more efficient you will be later on when you're installing. Let's say that you work for a IT practice and they say install these very complex programs on our Linux, operating systems. You'll go online and you'll find the documentation, but if you're just typing commands without really understanding the underlying access control, something will happen, something won't work, and that's where the knowledge pays off. So you can find the solution, right? So that's really the essential thing. So we went over the Unix way, okay? And then, so we talked about, everything is a file, the file system. Root, we went over file ownership, users and groups, so we covered that. We sort of did how permissions are assigned. How do you add somebody, at least theoretically, right? So how do we add them to a group? We talked about how to look at access control with ls-l, ch own, ch group. We went over those examples for the recursion flag. Then read and write. We looked at the access classes, user group and other in access control. The file type. We looked at chmod, the command, which allows us to give a user more permissions for fewer permissions. And then we looked at how to assign numeric file modes, and we actually did a quiz about it, right? So if you remember, we did a little quiz, and that table is in Brightspace. There's an example of that in these PDFs. So all these notes, basically, we went over that. And we kind of ended here, right? So we did an example of that one. All right, great. So that's something we've covered. Today we're going to do some additional commands, looking at services, and I'll walk you through those commands myself. I'll sort of demo that, and then we'll just wrap up with scripting examples. Okay, so we'll do this. All right, and then let's take a look now. So were there any questions about any of this? So we covered all of this. Not all of it, I guess. Set UID. I'm going to save that for later. Yeah. So the remainder this part here, process, some Unix daemons, processes, sockets, links. Yeah, and basically it all revolves a little bit around set UID, and that's its own complex command. So we'll talk about that probably next. I'm saving that lecture for that. I don't want to, so that it's its own thing. All right, so let's go back here. Let's go back actually to table of contents. Great. So we are done with definitely this document intro, and you'll be grading this week. Scripting in case, I will come back to this today once I start getting into the Python scripting, but I want to get through the commands first, so I'm not mixing things up. Slides is pretty much the same as the PDF. These are the managerial slides. So remember that sysadmin involves the technical aspect of it being a system administrator, but it also has some managerial recommendations given that it's a practice that deals with people, right? It's a very, you're dealing with technology for people and people are making requests and things like that. So that's the other book. And as I said to you guys at the beginning of the semester, I have summarized that whole book in just these slides, but I don't, they're easy, basically slides that you can just read. So where is it? Oh, here. So just go ahead. So I'll just point out that you should be reading these. There may be some questions about these on the exam, but they're just, what are desktops and things like just suggestions and, just little interesting things. Okay, so go through those. That's your reading assignment. I gave you the history link, and then we have this document here, which is the commands for today. So I'm going to go over these commands, basically. We're going to play with them. And then after that, I will create a set of problems to assign, okay? With Python. All right, so let's start with this. And then, as I said, we will get back into the Python scripting. So let's go to, we're going to need the terminal. We're going to need the VM. So I'm going to, so I'll start this as I'll